Welcome back to the Reborn Podcast. I am Tony Gutierrez, your host, and today we are diving deep into one of the most powerful chapters in the Bible, Luke 6. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a leader, or someone focused on personal and spiritual growth, this passage has life-changing lessons for all of us. If you're new here, let me give you a little bit of a background. I'm 21 years old, an entrepreneur, author, and a follower of Christ. But it hasn't always been this way. I didn't grow up with a relationship with Jesus, and I spent years struggling physically, mentally, emotionally, trying to figure out life on my own. But in October 2023, everything changed when I gave my life to Christ. Now I'm living a life of purpose, rooted in faith, and building something far beyond just business. I'm here to share those lessons with you. So today, we're going verse by verse through Luke 6 and unpacking how it's not only transformed my spiritual life, but also how it applies to leadership, business, and life. Let's start with some heavy-hitting verses. Luke 6 and 27 to 31, it says, "But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. And if someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you. And if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you." All right. I know what you're thinking. This doesn't sound like typical business advice. Here's the deal. When I first started in sales, zero base salary, all commission, I was in survival mode. I saw everyone as competition. I didn't care about relationships. I cared about winning. It took me a while to realize that winning without integrity and love means nothing. I used to hold grudges when people mistreated me or when deals didn't go through, but as I grew in my faith, this verse challenged me. When I started loving my enemies, whether that meant difficult clients, competitors, or even people in my personal life, I saw a shift. Loving those who hate you doesn't mean letting them walk all over you. It means rising above the situation. It's servant leadership at its core. You don't retaliate. Instead, you give grace. This changed how I do business. I stopped obsessing over revenge or getting even, and instead focused on how I could serve others, even those who might never return the favor. And guess what? That is when my business relationships deepened. People want to work with those they trust, and trust comes from love and integrity. Next, let's move to verses 37 and 38. "Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Here's the hard truth. How often do we judge others in our daily lives? And not just people we meet, but clients, coworkers, even friends and family. In business, I used to compare myself constantly. I judged others based on success, and if someone was ahead of me, I'd feel bitter. But then this verse hit me. It's not my job to judge. It's my job to serve. When I stopped worrying about what others were doing and started focusing on how I could grow and give more, it flipped the script for me. When I launched my personal development community, I had to let go of the idea that I needed to be the most successful person in the room. My job was to serve, to bring people together, to lead with humility, and to build something for God's kingdom. When you stop measuring your worth based on others and start pouring into people, giving generously, forgiving quickly, God promises abundance in return. You see, generosity isn't just about money, it's about time, energy, and love. The more you give without expecting something in return, the more blessings you receive. Trust me on this one. This applies to business just as much as it does to your spiritual walk. Now, one of my favorite parts of Luke 6 is towards the end. In verses 46 to 49, it says, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say? As for everyone who comes to me and hears my words and puts them into practice, I will show you what they are like. They are like a man building a house who dug down deep and laid a foundation on a rock. When a flood came, the torrent struck that house but could not shake it because it was well built. The, but the one who hears my words and does not put them into practice is like a man who built a house on the ground without a foundation. The moment a torrent struck that house, it collapsed and its destruction was complete." This one speaks directly to how we build our lives and our businesses. Before I gave my life to Christ, my foundation was shaky at best. I was building on sand, chasing money, success, and status, but none of it was anchored in anything lasting. And then when the storms of life came, everything felt like it was falling apart. But when I built my foundation on Christ, everything changed. My business now is rooted in servant leadership and giving and in glorifying God. I've shut down businesses that weren't aligned with my calling. I've pivoted, doubled down on public speaking, and started writing my book. Not because it's easy, but because I know that my foundation is strong, and when challenges come, and they will come, I'm not shaken. What about you? Are you building your life and business on a strong foundation? Are your actions rooted in faith and obedience to God? Are you chasing something that will collapse when the storms come? So what does this all mean for you? How do you apply the teaching of Luke 6 in your life and business starting today? Here are 3 practical steps. Step 1, love your enemies and those who challenge you. In your business, in your personal life, someone is always going to push your buttons. Instead of reacting with anger or revenge, rise above. Show grace and see how that changes the dynamic. When I shifted from competing to serving, my business relationships became stronger than ever. Step 2, stop judging and start giving. This is huge. We waste so much time comparing and judging others, and instead focus on giving your time, your energy, your resources. As Luke 6:38 says, "For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Give generously, and you will be blessed." Step 3, build on solid foundation. Is your life and business anchored in Christ? Are you building on something that will eventually fall apart? Take a hard look at your foundation today. If it's shaky, make that adjustment now before the storms hit. Now let's take a couple of questions from the community. Tony, how do you stay grounded when life and business get hectic? Great question. I stay grounded by constantly reminding myself of my foundation. I make time every day to connect with God through prayer and reading the Word. I also surround myself with people who keep me accountable and remind me why I'm doing what I'm doing. How do you balance ambition with faith? I've said before that I wanted to be a trillionaire, but what I've learned about ambition is that ambition without purpose is empty. My goals are still big, but now they're aligned with God's will. I'm building not for myself, but for the kingdom. When your ambition is aligned with your faith, you'll find purpose, and with purpose comes peace. That's it for today's episode, guys. I hope walking through Luke 6 together gave you some clarity and inspiration. Remember, how you live, how you lead, and how you build matters. It's all about laying a foundation in Christ and giving generously in every area of life. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who needs to hear this message. And don't forget to join our free community, the Reborn Pack, where we grow together in faith, business, and life. I'm Tony Butchers, and this is the Reborn Podcast. Keep building, keep serving, and keep growing.